Productions.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Pristine production. I'm your mixing engineer, host, artist, and musician, mixing engineer, Andrew Rayburn. And be sure to check me out on YouTube. Remember, guys, you can support me by joining Producers Village, a VIP, a mix session tips and solution for $5.99 monthly. Join and get access to weekly advanced mixing videos. Get your stems on the show. Exclusive live stream on mixing tips. Be sure to go with that, guys. And also, I want to invite you guys to check out my mixing course. It's on CourseCraft, mixing pro dancehall in the box, mixing pro Afrobeat in the box, and mixing pro reggae in the box. Also mixing pro soca. Get that top of the line commercial record sound. Be sure as well to check out my pristineproduction.webstart.com. Click shop now and get the latest stems and rhythms and MIDI files in reggae, dancehall, soca, trap beat, and all the rest. You know, so I'm going to talk about a special feature today, which is going to be called Pro Mastering with Stock Plugins. And I'm going to master a song here using just a stock plugins from Studio One here, and it's going to be covered by the artist's lyric here. So I'm going to bring the track back so you can hear a lyric here. And I'm going to show you some tips and tricks how I get the track to sound where it is right now.
Baby, can you see what is wrong in me? And baby, yeah, you're all up in my dreams and got me all up in my feelings. And baby, tell me what is this? Got the rollie on my wrist.
So I want to start from bringing your track from there, bringing it all the way to here.
All up in my heart, yeah. I will give my all. I promise myself I won't fall. But for you, I risk it all. Mama will be here every time by your side. She'll go up your tears every.
So let's go ahead. That's the track from the artist's lyrics. Song is called I Ain't Letting Go, mixed by me, and it's gonna be mastered now by me. So we're gonna get in some key details here. So I'm using Studio One 5. Be sure to check out Studio One on PreSonus. Artist is going for $99, $99.95, and it's a great investment, guys. So check out Studio One when you get the break here. Now we're gonna talk about mastering here. So there's a couple key features, the main elements here. A lot of people maybe talking about, oh, you gotta have a whole lot of tape machines, mid-side EQ, and analog plugs and all these stuff, which is nice. They do a heck of a job, but you can also get great mixes with stock plugins. You might say, Ray, what you talking about, man? That can't beat analog. As long as you mix very good, have a good professional mix, you can get good mastering with just stock plugins. You can get the same effect, meaning the same professionality. Analog plugs might give you a little bit of, give you some saturation and some color. There's certain analog plugins you strap it on that master bus, and the mix is already amazing. But we're gonna show how you the main foundation and mastering, which involve, you gotta have EQ, you gotta have, most of the time, compression, and last but not least, a limiter. And you want to have a couple plugins to analyze your mix and checking your leveling meter here. So we're going to get into that. So I'm going to turn off, let's turn off the plugins here. And I'm going to talk about, first of all, I'm going to play the song here. And what we want to do, we want to analyze our mixes. If you're a mastering engineer and a client send you something to master, I've mastered sound before. I've mastered trap beats, soca music, a lot of music. You want to analyze the track here. So I'm going to play the track. And you want to make sure you're getting a good reading here. Make sure you have a healthy track. So right now I have all the mastering plugs off here.
Baby, can you see?
And I can go through the different settings here.
What is wrong in me?
Different field of vision here.
And
Let's use this
baby,
one.
yeah, you're all up in my dreams. And got me all up in my feelings.
Now, before I continue here with this track here, if you notice all the little bars coming up here, these are the frequency range. You got 50 hertz, 100 hertz, 200. This is the spectrum meter. And you can also use the one from Waves Spectrum Analyzer. It shows you a printout of the entire song here. So as I play the song here, let's go to like probably about middle here.
All up in your drinks, yeah, you're all up in my
Here's the line
heart,
here.
yeah. I will give my all, I promise myself I won't fall. But for you, I risk it all.
Now, if I were to see a lot of information missing from here or down here, maybe sometimes the maybe it'll say a little bit of reading from here and hardly anything here. That's telling you that your mix is lacking bottom and you want a good healthy mountain going here.
All up in your drinks, yeah, you're all up in my heart.
So I can see it's a pretty good balanced mix here. I mean, it's mixed by yours truly. Come on. But you want to check for a healthy mix.
Mama will be here every time by your side. She'll go up your tears every time they make you cry.
And then
baby, you're so beautiful.
I'm gonna look at the
my child of love
LFS meter here.
for you is unconditional.
Now, you go down to R. We're going to go down to standard here. You might have a little bit of headache and say, Ray, what all these numbers mean? Basically, this tells you how loud your music is. So for Studio 1.5, you go on R128 standard here. LUFS, which is short term for the RMS readout, which is right here. So right now, if I play the song, it's negative 14 dB. It's negative 14 dB right now, but when we do the mastering here, I'm going to turn on back the plugins. You're going to see it goes up. Now, for your mastering level, you want at least about negative 10 to negative 9, you know, the most. Because on these platforms, YouTube, Spotify, it knocks it down a couple dB, about 14. So you want to make sure you have a good set level, at least about negative 9 or negative 10 LUFS or RMS. Now, how I'm doing this master here, I have the limiter on the master chain, which keeps me from, you know, getting, getting a clip. You don't want to exceed the ceiling here, so I want to keep the mix under control. And also, on my actual mix bus here, I have the mastering chain. So my mix is coming through one mix bus out here, and then it's going through the master, which I have the limiter on, and I have the spectrum analyzer and leveler to give me good information readout about how loud I'm going here. And you can always use something like the Magic AB if you want to compare your mix with other mixes as well. So the first one here is the binary. I add a little bit of stereo with this with this plugin here, but I'm not going to start on that yet. I'm going to go to the EQ here. So let's go ahead and let me bring up the. Should I go with the compressor first? Let's go with the EQ. I'm going to turn on the EQ here. I'm going to play the song, and I'm going to explain what is happening here. So these frequencies here, I'm taking out a little bit of the 899 here, and I'm getting a little bit of sweetness and a little bit of bottom end here because that was lacking in the mix. It's a good mix. It's a great balanced mix, but remember, we want to give it the finished mastering here. There are times when you 90% of the mastering is the mixing, but there are times when after the engineer has mixed the song and sent it to the mastering engineer, sometimes there's literally nothing to do on the chain. Maybe just up the level a little bit, and that's it. No EQ needed. So don't feel like you can fix a mix in the mastering. You know, you got to do what you got to do in the mix session. Do the best you can. So I'm going to turn on the EQ here.
All up in your drinks.
Off.
Yeah, you're all up in my heart. Yeah, I will give my all.
On.
I promise myself I won't fall. But for you, I'll risk it all. Mama will be here
Off.
every time by your side. She'll go up your tears every time they make you cry. Baby,
Now what I'm doing here, I'm boosting 4 dB at 106 here, so I can get some good bottom end. I'm taking out 3 dB at 899 hertz to take out take out a little bit of resonance here. I'm going to show you what that means.
all up in your drinks. Yeah, you're all up in my heart. Yeah,
That's what I'm taking out.
All I promise myself I won't fall.
Now the 235, I'm taking a little bit of a dB, almost a dB out of that, just to control that main synthesizer that hits when the song is starting at the beginning. I'm gonna boost the frequency so you can know what I'm talking about.
All up in your drinks. Yeah, you're all up in my heart. Yeah.
I'm taking a little bit of that out, so it makes room and give me a more balanced mix while her vocals is relaxing there in the center. And I have that good bottom end that I added, and I'm not competing with the keyboards here. Now, if I turn it off,
All up in your drinks.
it doesn't sound bad, but it gives me a sense of feel, just almost a dB of a little bit rounder balance here. Now, advice in mastering, I'm boosting about 4 dB, but you know, generally for the past a lot of years, a lot of my mastering engineer would tell don't boost no more than 1 dB or 2 dB, which is a safe zone you want to practice if you're a good mixing engineer. But there are times when you just gotta crank some stuff up now in these modern times, but know how much you gotta go to. For example, the low end I'm adding in the mixing here. Yes, I added low end in the mixing, but I didn't add a lot. Remember, you don't want to try to master the whole sound during the mix. You want to get a good mix, and then in the mastering, you just, you know, do the little finishing touches here. And mastering is preparing the mix, the final balance, opening the top end. Make sure you're getting good stereo and a good balance for listening playback. It's not mixing. Mastering is not mixing, guys, so don't get too confused. So I'm taking out a little bit of that 235 there, just to balance off the mix a little bit with that keyboard here. So you can still control certain little elements with EQ. For example, the bass, of course, and the drums. I'm using a shelf here rather than a peak, because I wanted to affect the kick drum and the bass as well, since the bass information also lives and the kick drum lives in the 60 hertz area. That's why I added a shelf. And a little bit of top end, almost a dB of 11K. Subtle little things to get the mix going. So I'm going to play the track.
All up in your drinks. Yeah, you're all up in my heart. Yeah, I will give my all. I promise myself I
Off.
won't fall. But for you, I'll risk it all. Mama will be here every time by your side. She'll go up your tears every time they make you cry. Baby, you're so beautiful.
So now we're getting that bottom end now with the EQ that we did. We have a more rounder, fuller mix here, and that's what we're going for. And now we're going to be doing some compression here. Now I'm doing the ratio. You want to set your ratio about at least 1:5 or 2:1 at least. This is a fairly well mixed track. The instruments are not going all over the place, so we want subtle compression here just to control the overall body, and we're going to get that makeup again here. Let me bring it down so I can let you hear what the compressor is doing. So let's go ahead and do that.
All up in your drinks. Yeah, you're all up in my heart. Yeah, I will give my all.
As before.
I promise myself I won't fall.
Now for the compressor, now we want a fast release for this song. This is a dancehall track here, and the attack, I'm leaving it to 400 milliseconds here. That's soft attack. We don't want. We want to let as much We want to let as much transient and dynamics through the compressor as possible. Remember, we want a natural sound, but want to enhance. We don't want to squash the living daylights out of this mix. You know, so I'm using a ratio of 1 to 5, and I'm pulling the threshold here to I'm getting about 3 dB the most of compression here, but the reason why it doesn't sound like it's suffocating is because I have a low ratio, which is how hard the compressor works. It's working mildly here. If I go too far, I'm not using the look ahead. This is the knee. This is kind of let the compressor view the certain frequency before it hits. I'm not using side chain. This is a fairly balanced mix here. What I'm doing, I'm taking off the stereo link. Now I learned this from Chris Lord Algae a long time ago. If you're using a stereo compressor, it kind of grabs everything in the stereo spectrum, including whatever you pan, the hard, left, hard, right, and that stuff. But when you deactivate stereo, you want to unlink both channels so you can have a good stereo information being compressed, but it's not being lost. Sometimes when you go on stereo link, it kind of affects the stereo width, not in a bad way, but just a little. So I want to keep things as natural as possible, so I take off the detect stereo average here. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to boost the information here. So we're going to bring up the levels to about that negative 12 or 10 I was telling you about. So we're going to do that with the makeup gain here. And then we're going to use a limiter just to catch the bottom end. So let's keep an eye right here. So let's go ahead and do that. All up in your drinks, yeah, you're all up in my heart, yeah. I will give my all, I promise myself I won't fall. But for you, I risk it all. Mama will be here every time by your side. She'll go up. So that's before. And now we're going to go to the negative 12. Baby, you're so beautiful. My child of love I got for you is unconditional. I take a bullet through my head for you, walking broken glass. So all I'm doing here with this limiter on the end is just having it there in case a little bit of volume exceeds the compressor. The limiter is going to catch it here. And the main bus, the true peak, the limiter is going to catch it there. So that's all I'm doing, like putting up a little brick wall here. On the stereo plug here, the binary pan, I'm doing a little bit of 1/7, that's a little 7% width here. All up in your drinks, yeah, you're all up in my heart, yeah. I will give my all, I promise myself I won't fall. But for you, I risk it all. Mama will be here every time by your side. She'll go up your tears every time they make you cry. So this is before. Baby, you're so beautiful. My child of love I got for you is unconditional. I take a bullet from my head for you, walking broken glass. I want you to know you can do anything through Christ. It's sweetie, I got butterflies, and I can't believe you got your mama eyes. So I'm gonna catch you guys on the next. Remember to support me, guys. Eat bread and sardines. Well, ain't nobody touch you when they feel you.